jazz guitar tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to comp over a jazz blues in B flat using walking bass lines and chords thrown in between. This is a great way to comp if you play alone or without a bass player. The guys are always late for the show anyway. Hi my dear jazz guitar enthusiasts, Sandra Sherman here. Greetings from Austria. I'll teach you everything note for note, slow and easy, and there's also a slow tempo playthrough towards the end of this lesson. I've made tab including regular music notation and backing tracks, and you can download all this fun from down below in the description box. Please read the download instructions. All right, now let's go for a walk. We're in the key of B flat, and this is the basic jazz blues progression in B flat. 2, 3, 4. All right, first 4 bars we're in the key. We are in B flat, and we have that quick change in the second bar that goes to the 4th degree of the scale, the E flat. So we need to go from this B flat 7, 6, 6, 7 to this E flat 7. This is 6, 5, 6. All right, and walking bass, there are several tools, and I have a video on walking bass up here. Actually, I'm going to put a link here up somewhere in the cards. But let me explain you just shortly. You can go via chord notes or scale. Those are the 2 main tools we have. There are some other little ones that I'm going to show you some tricks, okay? First, we play the bass note, the B flat, here on the 6th, followed by the rest of the chord on beat 1 and. We always play the rest of the chord on 1 and because we want to have a walking bass, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we don't want to have any rest of the chord tones sounding on those beats, just the bass. 1, and then on 1 and you have the 6 of D and the 7 of G. This way we split this, so the rest of the chord always follows. Now on beat 2, we have a chord tone of that B flat 7, and that's the D is the 3rd of the chord. B flat 7, that's on the 5th of the A string. Then the 8th fret is the 5th of the chord. All right. I hope you can see my right hand, right? And now on beat 4, I have a chromatic because there's nothing in between here and the E flat except for that chromatic. And a chromatic is always perfect on beat 4. And that's the 7th fret. And now I'm on E flat. And the rest of the chord, that's the E flat, and the rest of the chord is 5D and the 6th of the G string. Follows on 1 and again. All right, from here, 1 and, we need to go back to B flat again. And now the next tool is I use the E flat Mixolydian scale because that's the scale for an E flat 7 chord. All right, so I go down the E flat Mixolydian scale. D flat is the next on the 4th of the A string, C, and on beat number 4 I need a chromatic to go to B flat. I actually don't go to this one but to this B flat. So my chromatic is either below or above, but since I have this downward movement, I take the one above, so that's B. Right next here, but I choose this one, is closer to the next B flat. All right, so I have E flat, split, bass and chord, D flat, C, B, and now I'm back to B flat on beat 1, plus the rest of the chord follows. All right, and now for the B flat, I use a trick because now we have 2 bars of B flat. So where can I go with the walking bass line? I just could leave it and go back. But what I do is, and I've learned that from my bass player, the trick is you play kind of a power chord thing, and you play root and chord, of course. But now I go to the octave. That's the B flat up here on the 8th fret of the D string. Then the 5th, and then a chromatic that leads me back to the B flat. So this is the 3rd bar. And I'm back to B flat. All right, that's a thing they use a lot. To stay within the same chord, all right? And now for the 4th bar, 4th measure, you have to think about the next bar already, which is going to be E flat in a second. So we need to go up there again. And actually, I'm doing this with this via the scale. C, B flat mixolydian scale. B flat, next in the scale is C. Then next in the scale is not D flat, it would be D. But then I would have nothing in between D and E flat, but I still need one more beat. So I have my chromatic here this time, not on beat 4, but on beat 1, 2, 3. That's the D flat. On beat 4, I'm on D, that's the 3rd of the scale and the chord, which is also kind of a chromatic leading into E flat, right? And then E flat is gonna be in the next phrase. So here's the entire 4 bars, the first phrase at slow tempo. 2, 3, 4. All right, and here's phrase number 2. 2, 3, 4. All right, we are at the E flat, on the E flat 7 chord, E flat, the rest follows. And now we do that power chord trick again. We want to go to the E, and the E is actually just right next to the E flat. So there is actually no way we can play a bass line from E flat to E. But we can use the trick that we had previously. Now going to the octave of E flat, that's this E flat on the 8th fret of the G, via the 5th. And usually we would do a chromatic. But, well, we could use the F to go to the E, but I'm just going now to the E flat again. And now I'm on E. Exactly, oops, where I wanted to be. E diminished is our next chord. I'll play E, then a B flat, D flat, and G. 1 and. Now I go via a chord tone, D flat, then chromatic, chromatic to the B flat, right? Because now I need to be on a B flat again. And now we go from B flat to G, that's the 6th of the B flat scale. G minor 7, but we play G altered. We could play it down here and kind of move down here. What I did was I go up here to this G7, and how do I get there? That's quite a distance. I go there diatonically. That's what we do a lot. We play B flat 7, C minor 7. I'll show you note for note in a second, okay? D minor 7, and that's the 2 to the G7. So that's a 2-5 progression. So we climb up there to the G7. And now, because now I have half bars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's easy just to connect it via the chromatics. That's easy. So B flat, 1 and 2 is the chromatic. Count number 3 has the root of the C minor on the 8th fret. And the rest follows 8 of D and G. I do not need to play the B string, because that's the 5th, we don't need it. So just bass and middle and ring finger. Chromatic again on the 9th fret. Then we're on the D minor 7, 10, plus 10 and 10, that's the same chord, just on the 10th fret of D and G. And now I go to the G, but before that I take the chromatic below. I could have used the one above too, that's up to you, but the lower is nearer. I always tend to take the closest one to the previous chord, and that's the F sharp. That leads me to G on the 10th, and followed by the guide tones. That's the B on the 9th fret, and the 10th fret, that's the F. Okay. So here is the entire phrase number 2 for you at slow tempo. 3, 4. And here are the last 4 bars already. Phrase number 3, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, we start with the 2-5 chord progression, C minor, F7. This is, we start on the C, and the 8 and 8 of D and G strings follow. Then I climb up the C Dorian scale, C, D, E flat, chromatic E, that leads me to the F7 chord. Here is the F on beat 1, and the rest follows 7, 8 of D and G strings. Now the F Mixolydian scale, F7 has the F Mixolydian scale, is the same as the C Dorian, actually. So we go down the same scale, but we don't start with the chromatic, but with this one. Then D, then the C. We don't need a chromatic here, actually. We can go down the scale to go to B flat. Now we're on 1, the rest follows, 6, 7. The 1 chord, and now we have the same thing we had in the previous 4 bars, but half bar. 1, 6, 2, 5. So the same thing, now half bars are easy, the easiest thing to do for walking bass. Because you have a chord on beat 1 and another one on beat 3, and you just need to fill the gap in beat 2 and 4. And you can approach that via a chromatic that leads into the next chord. So B flat, next chord is G. So I take the chromatic G flat or F sharp. That's beat 2. Now I go to the G7 we had before. That's the 10th and the 9 and 10 of D and G. Right? So B flat, F sharp, G7. Now I need to go to the C minor, the 2-5. That's a 2 chord. I approach from above. That's a D flat. 9th fret, going to C minor. We had this 8, 8, 8. And the last one is the F7. I approach it from the E. 8, 7, 8. And the first chord again is the B flat. We want to resolve. So we go, the B is the closest. And here we are on B flat. And here's the entire last phrase, phrase number 3 at slow tempo. 2, 3, 4. want to check out my tutorial on walking bass lines, how to create them and how to apply them. And also I have plenty of blues lessons up here on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe, share the love, hit that like button, and I see you soon. Bye bye.